Battle for Bachmoth. The Battle of Bachmoth is an ongoing series of military engagements in and near the city of Bachmoth between Ukrainian armed forces and the Russian armed forces during the larger battle for Donbass. Shelling of Bachmoth began in May 2022, but the main assault towards the city began on the 1st of August after Russian forces advanced from the Popasna direction after a Ukrainian withdrawal from that front. The main assault force primarily consists of mercenaries from the Russian paramilitary organization Wagner Group, supported by regular Russian troops and DPR and LPR separatist elements. As of late 2022, following Ukraine's Kharkiv and Kherson counter-offensives, the Bakhmut-Soledar front became an important focus of the war, being one of the few front lines in Ukraine where Russia remained on the offensive. Attacks on the city intensified in November 2022 as assaulting Russian forces were reinforced by units redeployed from the Kherson front, together with newly mobilized recruits. By this time, much of the front line had descended into positional trench warfare, with both sides suffering high casualties without any significant advances. The intensity of battles in the Bakhmut sector has been compared to World Wars I and II. Background: Bakhmut, formerly known as Artemysk, was the site of the 2014 Battle of Artemysk between Ukraine and the self-declared separatist Donetsk People's Republic. Pro-Russian separatists had captured parts of the city during the 2014 pro-Russian unrest in Ukraine in April, and a Ukrainian Special Forces unit together with the National Guard were dispatched to expel the separatists from the city. The separatists were expelled to the city's outskirts where clashes continued until July 2014, when they finally retreated from the area. During the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, a key Russian goal was to capture the Donbass region, consisting of Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. The initial push for Bakhmut was part of an attempt to encircle the Ukrainian forces at the Syeverodonetsk-Lysychansk salient, together with another push from the Lyman direction. It would create a pocket and trap Ukrainian forces there. Starting on the 17th of May, Russian forces began shelling Bakhmut, killing 5 people including a 2-year-old child. After the fall of Popasna on the 22nd of May, Ukrainian forces withdrew away from the city to reinforce positions at Bakhmut. Meanwhile, Russian forces managed to advance on the Bakhmut-Lysychansk highway, endangering the remaining Ukrainian troops in the Lysychansk-Syeverodonetsk area. The Russian checkpoint along the highway was later demolished. Although fighting resumed on the 30th of May along the Koshchentinivka-Bakhmut highway, where Ukrainian forces successfully defended the highway. Shelling of Bakhmut continued throughout the rest of June and July, escalating after the Battle of Siversk began on the 3rd of July. Following the battles of Syeverodonetsk and Lysychansk in early July, Russian and separatist forces captured all of Luhansk Oblast, and the battlefield shifted towards the cities of Bakhmut and Soledar. On the 25th of July, Ukrainian forces withdrew from the Vulahirska power station, along with the nearby town of Novoluhansky, giving Russian and separatist forces a small tactical advantage towards Bakhmut. 2 days later on the 27th of July, Russian shelling of Bakhmut killed 3 civilians and wounded 3 more. Prior to the battle in Bakhmut, Ukrainian Brigadier General Oleksandr Turchynov claimed that Russia held a 5-to-1 manpower advantage over Ukraine along the Eastern Front. Early shelling and Russian encroachment, August-October 2022. On the 1st of August, Russian forces launched massive ground attacks on settlements south and southeast of Bakhmut. Both the Russian Ministry of Defense and pro-Russian telegram pages claimed that the Battle of Bakhmut had begun. The following day, Ukraine reported that Russian forces had increased airstrikes and shelling of Bakhmut, beginning a ground attack on the southeastern part of the city. On the 4th of August, Wagner Group mercenaries managed to break through Ukrainian defenses and reach Patrice Lumumba Street on the eastern outskirts of Bakhmut. In the following days, Russian forces continued to push towards Bakhmut from the south, with the Ukrainian General Staff stating on the 14th of August that Russian forces had achieved partial success near Bakhmut, but offering no specifics. Night shelling in the city center on the 21st of September burned the Martynov Palace of Culture, where the humanitarian headquarters worked. During the extinguishing of the fire, the local fire department was shelled, which reported that 2 SES staff were injured and equipment damaged. At night, a 5-story building was partially destroyed by Russian shelling. A Russian missile strike on the 22nd of September destroyed the main bridge across the Bakhmutka River that bisects the city, disrupting both civilian travel and Ukrainian military logistics. On the 7th of October, Russian forces advanced into the villages of Zaitseve and Opythna on the southern and southeastern outskirts of Bakhmut, while on the 10th of October, The UK Defence Ministry claimed that Russian troops advanced closer to Bakhmut. On the 12th of October, Russian forces claimed to have captured Opythna, located 3 kilometers south of Bakhmut, and Ivanhorod, although these towns were still contested. Ukrainian sources said a minor counteroffensive on the 24th of October pushed Russian forces from some factories on the eastern outskirts of the city, along Patrice Lumumba Street. Winter escalation, November to December 2022. By early November, much of the fighting around Bakhmut had descended into trench warfare conditions, with neither side making any significant breakthroughs. And hundreds of casualties reported daily amid fierce shelling and artillery duels. On the 1st of November, Ukrainian journalist Yuri Butusov described the evolving nature of the battle in an interview. Butusov noted that Russian forces had suffered huge losses every day, assaulting Bakhmut and its outskirts since early May, but insisted that they were adapting their tactics against increasingly exhausted Ukrainian defenders. He noted that the Russians were concentrating multiple small groups of infantry to break defense lines on narrow sections of the front. Russian forces breached defense lines along Bakhmut's southern flank, capturing the villages of Andriivka, Ozaryanivka, and Zelnopilia, and making minor advances in Opythna through the 28th to the 29th of November. Wagner troops attacked Kurdyumivka, adjacent to Ozaryanivka, with some Russian millbloggers claiming the settlement was captured. Russian forces also attacked Ukrainian positions southeast of Bakhmut. On the 3rd of December, Serhiy Cherevati, a spokesperson for Ukraine's Eastern Command, described the Bakhmut front as the most bloody, cruel and brutal sector in the Russian-Ukrainian war so far, adding that the Russians had conducted 261 artillery attacks in the past day alone. The same day, a Georgia military volunteer told the media that a group of Georgian volunteers had been surrounded during clashes near Bakhmut. On the 9th of December, President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of destroying Bakhmut, calling it another Donbass city that the Russian army turned into burnt ruins. One Ukrainian artilleryman alleged that 80% of the remaining civilian population, surviving in basements and supplied by mobile grocery trucks that periodically enter the city, was pro-Russian. Like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel.